So how bad was it? It was bad, but not terrible, awful, Madame Web. It was just Dune Part 2 was very impressive in many places, but some aspects of Dune Part 2 were really lackluster. The music especially was fairly disappointing in a lot of key scenes. It did work in other scenes, but this is a very erratic production. That said, I can recommend it as a solid sci-fi film. However, not really a Dune film. It is far inferior to the Lynch version in 1984. I'm not going to mount a full defense of Lynch, but a lot of things people complained about, wow, they are a lot worse in Dune Part 2. That said, very impressive production value in a few key places, but they don't make sense, like the costumes. Like with the Guild. The Guild doesn't need all these costumes, so why is that happening? Major characters are entirely missing. Characters in even Dune Part 1, they don't really show up. Not going to spoil who it is, but yeah, it's a very weird set of fragments, but again, if you can get into the fragments, it'll be fine for you, but I found this very frustrating in too many places. That said, I think the lead performances, people were saying, it's the greatest things of all time. No, I think Timothée was very rock solid as the Denis version of Paul, but he's not really Paul. And there are definitely major inconsistencies, as well as people just don't show up for a long time. Like the Emperor, we see him, and then he just disappears for a very, very long time. Like the Empire is collapsing, his power is in danger, and like his responses are just so anemic and stupid. I'm like, that was your solution? That said, even though it does have a lot of woke feminist stuff, I don't think that's the problem. It's a problem, but not the problem. I think the major problem is the way they're structuring the story and their plan of attack. I can understand why they did it to slim, because this is a big book. Dune is a really big book. It's a vast mythology. I get it. You got to pick and choose. There's no way you can't pick and choose, even with an almost 3-hour film. However, they made some unwise choices. And people are applauding most of the choices. I would disagree. Many of the choices are questionable. I just felt the underlying story and the structure were kind of weak. It doesn't collapse. It just feels very iffy. But I do think there were a lot of saving graces. Leia was very strong. Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem, he never disappoints, and this is another really cinematic triumph of him as an actor. He can really do any role, so that was really stunning. But that said, there were just many question marks. So even when I should be enjoying things like Josh Brolin coming back and being Gurney, I was like, yeah, it was good, but I felt I should have felt more. And so it just felt very, very mixed for me. That said, it's not terrible, but I can't lie. Is it worth the price of a movie ticket? For a Dune film, no. For a sci-fi film, yes. So I'm kind of torn. But again, there were strong moments, not from the books, but strong moments. And I would appreciate that Denis, even though he is giving us Zendaya is a complex character. She's a little whiny and silly at times, especially the finale will, I think, split people a lot. Some people who like the books, know the books, are like, they're applauding the boldness. I'm just beyond confused. I'm like, what the hell is happening? I'm like, what? I understand what they're trying to do, but there were too many failures. But there was a lot of good stuff. I don't want to deny that. I would say this is worth paying a DVD for, and I do want to support Denis. I do think this is a good Denis V film, but again, I needed a Dune film, and this really failed to be a Dune film in too many ways. So, still a bad film, and the Dune label is very distortive. It is really Denis V playing with the books, playing with a little Lynch. That's about it, and if it plays to you in the right note, great, but I still felt way too much incoherence and way too much self-indulgence, but it was disciplined enough in the key critical scenes, but too many scenes were too weak. It's a very, very mixed bag. I am being positive, but can't lie. This is just not what it's being advertised as. And people saying it's like 100% great. No, it is not. It is not. Sorry, it is not.